Have you ever found yourself, or watched a friend, absolutely hooked on a man who barely seems to care, leaving you craving even more of his attention? Why do so many smart, capable women end up addicted to men who act like they're nothing? Today, we're diving deep into the psychology and the very real emotional science behind why women so often get addicted to the very men who treat them like they're insignificant. We'll uncover how romance can become an obsession, driven by brain chemistry and emotional patterns that are more powerful than logic. Whether you're struggling to understand your own feelings or want to help someone you care about, stick around. Because this video may change the way you view love, relationships, and your own self-worth. Let's go beyond the surface. What exactly is happening when you're obsessed with a guy who acts distant, disinterested, or worse? Almost like you don't matter at all. Jill found herself repeatedly enthralled by men who were emotionally unavailable, riding an initial wave of euphoria, the high, similar to a drug rush. At first, this new partner seemed to offer everything she'd ever wanted: validation, love, attention. But soon, that intensity faded, and she found herself needing more and more reassurance. Each interaction became like a dose that barely satisfied her, so she chased harder, even as she got less in return. Why does this happen? It's not just about personality or bad luck. It's about what's happening inside the brain. During early romantic attachment, our brains light up with pleasure, releasing dopamine. Dopamine is the neurotransmitter that also spikes when we gamble, eat chocolate, or use addictive substances. This initial high sets the stage for subsequent cravings, just like any chemical dependency. When the man pulls away, acts indifferent, or treats her like she's nothing, the cycle intensifies, gradually increasing craving for reassurance as the man grows distant. Desperate attempts to get more contact, texts, calls, trying to see him. Less and less satisfaction from each dose. Emotional withdrawal when he's gone, fueling depression or anxiety. The cycle restarts with renewed hope every time he offers even a tiny bit of affection. But why are some people, especially women, more susceptible to this pattern? Attachment theory offers one answer. Our earliest relationships with caregivers shape the template for our adult romantic attachments. If a woman grew up receiving inconsistent care, sometimes loved, sometimes ignored, her nervous system comes to expect this unpredictability as normal. In adult life, she may unconsciously seek partners who recreate those familiar ups and downs, even if they're painful. It isn't rational, but it feels emotionally right because it's familiar. When a woman anxiously waits for a text or obsesses about why a guy isn't calling, her body produces stress hormones like cortisol mingled with spikes of dopamine whenever he finally responds. This chemical cocktail can be as intoxicating and as hard to break free from as any other addiction. Now let's address the elephant in the room. Why him? Why not someone who's attentive, generous, and loving? Often, these men who act like they're nothing provide a kind of emotional challenge. Their aloofness or lack of interest triggers the chase instinct, a need to win their love and prove worthiness. For women who have learned, often through childhood experience, that love is unpredictable or has to be earned, the challenge feels exhilarating. Their self-esteem gets tangled up in whether or not they can fix or change him, turning the relationship into an emotional project. And it's rarely about the man himself. This is known in psychology as intermittent reinforcement. It's an incredibly powerful force, more powerful, in fact, than consistent positive feedback or constant affection. Let's break that down. Imagine a slot machine. If a machine gave you cash every single time you pull the lever, the excitement fades. But if it's unpredictable, you win only sometimes. You get hooked, compulsively pulling the lever in hopes of a jackpot. In toxic relationships, every text after hours of silence, every reluctant smile after days of coldness, feels like a jackpot. The woman's nervous system is trained to keep coming back, hoping for that next win. There's another layer we need to explore: How toxic relationships erode identity and self-worth. Over time, the woman's sense of herself becomes lost in the struggle to gain approval from her emotionally unavailable partner. Also, if you're ready to fast-track your success, check out my new course in the description or comments for exclusive strategies. The fear of being alone, of never finding love again, can be overwhelming. She starts believing she doesn't deserve better treatment, cementing her emotional dependence. So, what are some signs of addiction in these relationships? Waves of anxiety, depression, or emotional exhaustion. Feeling high when receiving crumbs of attention, crashing when ignored. Desperate attempts to hang on, even when treated poorly. Doubting oneself, feeling trapped, losing sight of personal goals or values. Let's talk a little about why some women struggle more than others. Biochemical factors. Dopamine and oxytocin, the bonding hormone, drive attachment and craving. Each small act of affection triggers a flood of feel-good chemicals, reinforcing the addiction. It's essential to understand that these forces are not a reflection of weakness, stupidity, or lack of willpower. The brain's reward system, combined with emotional conditioning, can overpower even the strongest sense of logic. That's why advice like, just walk away, is usually insufficient. Let's shift gears. What about the men? Why do some men act this way? Cold, indifferent, emotionally withholding. Often, men who consistently act like they're nothing in a relationship have their own unresolved attachment issues. Maybe they fear intimacy, or were raised to suppress emotion. Some may use emotional withdrawal as a means of control or to avoid vulnerability. Now, what about breaking free? To escape this addictive pattern takes more than willpower. It takes awareness, healing, and often professional support. The first step is recognizing that the cycle exists and is driven by forces outside conscious control. Therapists recommend strategies such as building self-esteem through independent activities and self-care, reconnecting with personal values, goals, and friendships outside the relationship, seeking therapy to heal childhood wounds and build a secure sense of attachment, learning to tolerate discomfort. In other words, facing the loneliness or anxiety that arises when the emotional drug is removed. Setting boundaries, learning to say no to mistreatment, even when it feels terrifying. Breaking free isn't easy. Women often experience withdrawal symptoms similar to quitting a drug. Cravings, sadness, even depression. The urge to return to the relationship, chasing another high, can be intense. Women stuck in these toxic cycles are fighting both brain chemistry and social conditioning, not just a challenging man. Awareness and compassion, both for yourself and for others, are vital. Let me share a story that speaks volumes. Imagine a woman named Lisa. Smart, successful, funny. She meets John, whose cool indifference is immediately intriguing. He doesn't text often, never seems excited to see her, and always makes her feel just a little inadequate. The less he gives, the more Lisa wants to win him over. Every short reply, every occasional compliment feels like proof she's worthy. If only she could get a little more. Her friends don't understand why she bothers. Lisa herself can't explain it. But inside, her nervous system is hooked on the chase, craving that next hit of validation. She tells herself, if I can just make him love me, I'll prove I'm enough. Lisa isn't foolish or weak. She's caught in a biochemical storm, shaped by years of emotional training. She starts investing in herself, rekindles hobbies, deepens friendships, explores her own dreams. Slowly, her need for John's approval weakens. Eventually, she sets boundaries. No more tolerating silence or mistreatment. The withdrawal is painful, but not endless. She learns to soothe the anxiety with self-compassion. The cycle breaks, and Lisa is finally free to choose relationships that nourish her instead of draining her. If you see yourself in Lisa, know that healing is possible. You are not alone, and you are not broken. Understanding the why behind your addiction is the first step toward freedom. Thanks for watching. If you want to get the results you wish for fast, then check my limited time offer on my new course, which will skyrocket your success in dating. Click the link right now down below in the description or in the comments, and grab this opportunity. See you in there.